I'm Hank Stoltz. This is Worcester, the City That Reads, and we're speaking with Shawn Cormier, author, and talking about his books. And beginning with Nomadin, and then going to Nomadin, and then with the third book in the trilogy, Necromancer, you have woven this tapestry, this world for us to be able to be lost in. Give us once again, if you could, Shawn, just an overview of this world, of the plot. And yes, you envisioned it as a trilogy, but once that third book came along, did you start to have some thoughts about continuing?
Sure. About the plot really is derived from a bit of my childhood. I was raised in a very strict religion, and in this religion I was told that I was basically the savior. If you were in the religion, you were to be saved. And this wasn't something that was a wishy-washy belief. This is something that you either believed or you were out of the religion and then shunned. So as a child, I believed I was going to be saved, that I was special. As I grew up and was expelled from the religion, I found out that I wasn't so special. And I had to deal with all these emotions, and that's really what Nomadin and Nomadin are about. You know, Ilian coming to terms with the flip-flop of information, of what his beliefs were, are now almost opposite in dealing with that. And then in Necromancer, he has to sort things out and determine, as I did as I grew up, that no one can tell you who you are. You have a choice, and that's really what the three books are about, is a young person choosing his way.
The meaning behind the titles, Nomadin, Nomadin, Necromancer, what do those titles mean?
I often get that question. Nomadin, I didn't have a title for the book when I was writing it. And as I drew near the end, I said, I better start thinking about a title. And I knew that it was really about this group of wizards and that Ilian belongs to. And I had to come up with a name, something that had a familiar ring, but was also a little unique. And I thought, well, they're nomads in a way. They wander, solving problems. And I said, what is the number one most recognized magical character? Aladdin. And it just came Nomadin, and I thought it sounded good. And then, as I was heading towards thinking of the second book, I said, well, the second book is a flip-flop of the first. It's where he finds out that everything he believed might be wrong. I said, well, what if you flipped Nomadin backwards? And it almost read verbatim Nomadin. And you'll notice the readers have told me that they have a fun time looking for those flip-flops in words and in ideas as well.
Interesting. Now, this feedback, now you've reached to a younger audience as well, but it so often happens with fantasy. I'm guessing that there are older readers also. So it really, what is kind of the age range for who's getting into these novels?
10 and up is the age range. Core readers, of course, are probably 12 to 15. But my oldest reader is 87, a little old lady who came up and said, I really loved your books. I'm a big fantasy fan. So, yes, I think fantasy encompasses the genre, but I always consider myself a young adult writer, more than a fantasy writer, because if you go into the bookstores to find it, you'll find the bookstore in the young adult section and typically not in the fantasy section.
It seems to be one of the hardest things for writers of that age group to do, though, is that as the audience grows up, the writers will sometimes grow up as well, which then brings you know, some of the calls from the parents about, whoa, getting a little darker than what I thought that I was in for. You've had such an interesting life, Shawn, in which you've really had this battle almost with what your duty is in the world and to your family, and to be able to go out and make a living, but what your calling really seems to be, which is to be an author as well. Now it seems is, you know, we throw another group in there. Now you have a duty to your readership, whether it's this core group 12 to 15, or some people who may want to grow with you as readers also.
Well, it brings up an interesting subject of self-censorship, because when I was writing Nomadin, I made it a point, since I was writing for a younger audience, that there was nothing that would be considered inappropriate. And I didn't have to do too much tweaking, because the way I write and the way I think is pretty pure. But as Ilian grows and gets into more and more difficult situations, yeah, you have to be a little conscious. I've never wanted to put something that wasn't needed just for shock value, like they do in Hollywood often. Often I see movies and I say, well, they didn't need that. It could have been just as well if they had left it out. And now, you know, my 13-year-old daughter's, you know, this was PG-13, and
right.
So I often refer back to that thought when I'm writing, and I will take out things. I don't mind self-censoring myself. I might write it at first, and then I'll go back and of course, rewrite, because that's the art of writing, is rewriting and make it better.
Shawn, yeah, there was a famous author I know who said exactly that you know, that writing, there's no trouble writing. It's the rewriting, it's the editing that is the trick. Cormier Jewelers, as people come in, as you are known now as an author, must be interesting just to have the feedback in the store.
It is. We sell many books at the jewelry store because people like them signed. And the feedback hasn't always been positive. There are some people who buy the book because they know me. And then they'll, you know, I've had one older gentleman, his wife asked him, oh, you read that book? What'd you think? And him, yeah.
Shawn, just 30 seconds. What's next for you, and where can people come to Cormier Jewelers to get the book signed?
Sure. Cormier Jewelers, 42 Central Street in Southbridge. The books are available online everywhere. Locally, Barnes & Nobles and Borders. And out west, and a few Barnes & Nobles and Borders as well.
And what's next?
Well, the trilogy's wrapped up, and I think either a prequel, because I've been getting a lot of feedback that I should continue in the series, or I have an entire standalone non-fantasy book that has been dying to get out of my head for a long time.
Shawn Cormier, thank you, and thank you for joining us on Worcester, the city that reads.